Alors, welcome to this 2022 edition of the French Fest, a celebration of French-speaking cultures at large, as today also marks the Journée internationale de la Francophonie. Je m'appelle Frédéric Chouanière. Il y a peut-être des gens ici qui me reconnaissent de l'an dernier. C'est un plaisir de vous retrouver. Some of you might remember me from last year, and it's a pleasure to see you all again this year. And it is live, not from Seattle, but from Montreal, Quebec, that I'm joining here today for this very special occasion. And I'm thrilled to be back and to meet you all again. I'm thankful for the organizers for including various voices, including my very French-Canadian one, in today's celebration. Je pensais évidemment à ce que représente le français en cette journée spéciale. Et pour moi, le français épate par sa diversité et réunit aussi une diversité. French is able to represent a diversity of ideas, people, expressions, cultural expressions, among others. Et quand je pense au français de chez moi, ce sont évidemment, oui, les chansons de Céline Dion que tout le monde connaît, mais les contes de Fred Pellerin, les récits vietnamiens de Kim Thuy, les palabres de Boucard Diouf. Donc, c'est là qu'on voit que le français est vraiment un fil conducteur, right? French can really act as a unifier for different cultures, and this is one thing we will celebrate today. And I think the resilience of French language in North America alone is cause for celebration. As some of you might know, I'm a TV host and journalist here in Canada. I work for Radio-Canada, Télé-Québec, TV5, and I've had the chance to meet Francophones everywhere and Francophiles everywhere in Canada, but also in the USA. Actually, just a few weeks back, I was filming in New York City for a new series for TV5. And I came to realize that many of my guests would actually understand my questions when I was first asking my questions in French for our camera. And they would start nodding and even replying even before I translated the questions in English for them. Et pour moi, ça, c'est un signe du français, même dans un pays comme les États-Unis, à quel point le français est une langue vivante et dynamique et qui rejoint beaucoup de personnes. Here in Montreal, I recently hosted some events with newcomers to Quebec who are learning French. J'animais donc des ateliers avec les nouveaux arrivants qui sont dans des cours de francisation. Et je leur disais à quel point le français m'a permis d'ouvrir des portes aux États-Unis. I was telling them how French language has been a very useful asset, has offered me many opportunities in the USA, even working for the United Nations Secretariat in New York or hosting this event. So I think this is a really strong testimonial of how French is a global language, even on a continent where English predominates. Alors, avec tout ça, on dit évidemment que le français, c'est la langue de l'amour. We often present French as a language of love. I think that's true, right? Je vois des gens qui acquiescent. But it is also obviously a language of work, of opportunity, of innovation, even on this continent. And let's not forget that French is also the language of food. It's used around the world. You can find it on menus in renowned restaurants and in cooking books and home kitchens. And gastronomy, la gastronomie, is the theme of this year's French Fest. And by the way, I see more people are joining us right now. This is no ordinary French Fest. It is the 10th edition of this annual gathering. Alors, j'aimerais dire un bravo soutenu, de multiples bravos en fait à vous tous, à cette communauté de toute la région de Seattle et du nord-ouest du Pacifique qui met la main à la pâte année après année pour rendre cet événement possible. And there are two people in particular that I would like to thank and who will have a few words with us right now. On commence avec Didier Poirier, que vous connaissez sûrement, président de French Education Northwest. Bonjour Didier.
Bonjour Frédéric.
Ça va bien?
Très bien, très bien. Merci encore d'être revenu pour cette nouvelle édition, notre 10e édition de French Fest, célébration de French speaking and culture. Et welcome everyone, bienvenue sur notre plateforme. Et je voudrais dire un grand merci à Ariane, pour commencer, notre executive directeur de FEN, et qui est, without her, this show would not be here. So I just wanted, for me, it's important to start with that. And France Education Northwest, the FEN, it's a 501c3, a non-profit organization originally founded by people involved in the French-American Chamber of Commerce of the Pacific Northwest. FEN aims to be familiar with the people in our region, and especially youth, with the diversity and the richness of several aspects of French heritage, including education, cultural, and of course, the cooking. French Fest is part of Seattle Center Festál, cultural event series that celebrate the diversity of traditions, ideas, dialects, and more than compromise this Francophone culture from all around the world. French Fest is organized by, of course, FEN with the support of Seattle Center Festál, the French American of Commerce, and of the Pacific Northwest, in partnership with the Consulate General of France in San Francisco, the Consulate General in Canada, in Seattle, and a Swiss honorary consulate in Seattle. So you can see a lot of people in our Pacific Northwest here, and for our consulate in San Francisco, California. We're happy to have with us today a very talented actor and, of course, writer, Frédéric Choignard is a master of a ceremony that you just speaking in a few minutes here. And again, thank you, Frédéric, to do this ceremony with us today. And I will pass on to you. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Didier. C'est vraiment un plaisir renouvelé de faire partie, de rejoindre votre communauté de l'autre côté du continent. It is really a renewed pleasure for me to be again part of your community in the Pacific Northwest. And I think your weather is even more enticing than mine right now in Montreal.
Sunny here for us, so we can offer better.
A few degrees ahead of us. J'aimerais maintenant céder la parole à Ariane Augier, directrice exécutive de la Chambre de commerce franco-américaine pour Seattle et le Nord-Ouest Pacifique, Executive Director of the French-American Chamber of Commerce for Seattle and the Pacific Northwest, as well as Executive Director for French Education Northwest and Honorary Consul of France. Ariane, à toi la parole.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here today for this 10th edition of French Fest. Thank you, Frédéric, for being OMC again this year. We are very happy, and next year, I hope it will be not online anymore, but definitely we'll be back to normal. I would like to thank all our sponsors, all our partners. French Fest will not be possible without your generosity. Thank you to our platinum sponsor, PACCAR, who has been supporting us and FEN organization for several years. I would like also to thank our gold sponsor, the French American School of Puget Sound, a French American school that offers a fully harmonized bilingual program from preschool to 8th grade. And thank you all also to our silver and bronze sponsors. I wish you a fantastic French Fest.
Merci, Ariane. Juste avant de commencer avec notre premier programme, j'aimerais maintenant inviter nos invités de marque et dignitaires à prononcer quelques mots qu'ils et elles ont préenregistrés pour nous. Without any further ado, I would like to pass a virtual microphone now to our dignitaries for the official opening. We are starting with Frédéric Young, General Consul of France in San Francisco. Frédéric Young, Consul général de France à San Francisco.
Bonjour à tous, I'm Frédéric Young, I'm the Consul General of France in San Francisco, and I really want to thank all the organizers of French Fest today as we're marking the International Francophonie Day. I know that many organizations, schools, as well as consulates have been involved in the preparation, and really want to thank them for contributing to this great event today. I especially want to say thank you to the new Consul General of Canada in Seattle, as well as to the Honorary Consul of Switzerland in Seattle. And of course, I want to thank our great Honorary Consul in Seattle, Ariane Augier, who's done tremendous work to allow today to happen. Francophonie is of course essential to us. French language is today the 5th spoken language in the world. We will work together with you to make it become the third most spoken language around the world. So, vive la francophonie et à très bientôt. Merci beaucoup.
Merci, Monsieur Young. J'aimerais maintenant passer à la consul générale du Canada à Seattle, the General Consul of Canada in Seattle, Madame Mia Yen.
Bonjour à tous et à toutes. Quel plaisir de m'adresser à vous aujourd'hui pour cette nouvelle édition de French Fest. C'est un festival important pour le Canada, puisque nous permet de faire rayonner notre culture franco-canadienne et d'échanger avec les cultures francophones de la région et du reste du monde. I am pleased to see that Canada will be well represented throughout the day. As you know, French and English are the two official languages of Canada. About 1 out of 4 Canadians has French as a first language, with the majority of Francophones living in the province of Quebec. But did you know that there are Francophone communities throughout Canada? Acadiens, Franco-Ontarien, Franco-Manitobain are just a few examples. They have their own French cultural heritage and traditions, and they still speak and cherish the French language today. Even some Indigenous First Nations in Canada, such as Abenaki or Huron, use French daily alongside their own language. Education is also available in both languages in Canada, at all levels. So if you're thinking of studying in Canada, I invite you to get in touch with my team at the Consulate General of Canada in Seattle, and we'll be able to help you and hopefully welcome you to our beautiful country. Make sure to follow us on social media to learn more about Canada and our special relationship with Seattle and the region. We have plenty of content in French. Je vous souhaite à tous et à toutes un excellent French Fest. Merci.
Merci à Madame Yen. Et maintenant, je céderai la parole au consul honoraire de la Suisse à Seattle, the Honorary Consul of Switzerland in Seattle, Monsieur Philippe Gottschel.
Bonjour, mes chers amis francophones. My name is Philippe Gottschel. I'm the Honorary Consul of Switzerland in Seattle for Washington State. As you know, Switzerland has 4 major languages. We have German in the east, French in the west, Italian in the south, and a small language called Romansh in the very east of the country in the mountains near St. Moritz. French is the second most important language in Switzerland behind German, and about 30% of the Swiss speak French. Economically, the French region, or the Romandie as we call it, is very important. It is home to companies such as Nestlé, Logitech, the Swiss watch industry, with brands such as Rolex, Omega, Cartier, Longines, Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet, and Tissot. Geneva is also the center of a lot of private banks. Switzerland hosted the Global Summit of the Francophonie in Montreux a couple of years ago. And we also have major newspapers and books in French. The major newspapers are in Lausanne, Geneva, and Fribourg. As you can see, the contribution of the French language and the French culture to Switzerland is huge, and we're very proud of that fact. Merci et à bientôt.
Merci à vous, Monsieur Gottschel. Et maintenant, j'aimerais enfin inviter la conseillère municipale de la ville de Seattle. I would like now to pass the microphone to the council member, City of Seattle, Lisa Herbold.
I'm Seattle City Council member Lisa Herbold, and I'm pleased to send you my greetings for French Fest 2022. Although I hope that this is the last year that French Fest is online, I'm so grateful for the connections online tools have helped me make with our French partners. I was able to talk twice last year with the Deputy Mayor of International Affairs in Nantes, thanks to these new tools that have become so familiar to us. I hope we can continue to use them to talk more frequently, develop closer relationships, and plan new exchanges. Given the current war in Ukraine, I'd like to say an extra word about how important these people-to-people exchanges are for our cities. Seattle is proud of its long-standing sister city relationship with Nantes. The sister cities concept started as a way for individual people to create friendships. These personal relationships matter for relationship building and for peace building. For these reasons, I'm so excited to connect with partners in Nantes this year. We're getting ready to host a 50-person delegation of visitors from government, business, and cultural sectors who are finally able to visit us in person. Their stay in Seattle will start with an unveiling event at the renovated Nantes Park in West Seattle, my district. Save the date for an event being planned for Sunday, April 10th. I'm grateful to the partners that have kept it all going. The Seattle-Nantes Sister City Association, the City of Nantes, the Admiral Neighborhood Association, Seattle Parks and Recreation, among so many others. The delegation will have many other ways to learn about our city, from our Race and Social Justice Initiative and Gender Justice Project to housing and affordability, parks, land use, and so much more. They'll also have an opportunity to meet with several arts organizations to talk about future arts collaborations. Thanks for participating in this year's virtual French Fest. And thanks to the French American Chamber of Commerce for inviting me to join. I really hope you enjoy all that French Fest has to offer. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Herbold. Il y a beaucoup de choses très intéressantes qui viennent d'être dites au niveau de l'échange. A lot of very interesting and important things have been just said about the importance of cultural exchanges that can happen throughout the common interest for a language such as French. And talking about that, we're going to now talk with someone who's the head of the Seattle-Nantes Association, Susan Cagle. Bonjour, Suzanne.
Bonjour. Bonjour. I'm very happy to be here today.
Yeah, go ahead, please. And let us know a little bit what the association is currently working on.
Sure. I'll just start by saying that we have been twinned with Nantes since 1980. So that's 42 years worth of friendship. We do cultural and educational exchanges with the city of Nantes. And as Councilmember Lisa Herbold mentioned, we have an important delegation coming up. We also support events like this, French Fest, which we attend every year. I can also say, to reiterate some of what Lisa Herbold said, that the Sister Cities program was started in 1956 by President Eisenhower as a citizen-to-citizen diplomatic initiative. In other words, a form of soft diplomacy during the Cold War. And I think we can all agree at this time in our world that these sort of people-to-people connections are more important than they ever were. So we're very excited to be able to keep supporting these types of exchanges.
Indeed, it is very important, especially in times like today.
It is.
And you've been working with very special guests that you will and I will now introduce. Let us know. This is a very special visit we have today, part of the French Fest.
It is. I'm very excited to introduce you to two colleagues who are joining us from Nantes, Stéphane Bonetti and Christophe de Goulaine, who are going to share with us a video about the Chateau de Goulaine. And I believe they are sitting in the Chateau de Goulaine as I speak.
They're quite easy to spot, I would say.
Yes. Bonsoir. And the video will introduce us to the Chateau and to the special gastronomy of Nantes, our beautiful sister city. And then we will have a live Q&A session with them after that. And then finally, Chef Didier Poirier is going to make the famous sauce that originates in Nantes.
And we will discover what that sauce is while watching this video. Thank you so much, Susan, for helping putting all this together. It's very exciting and I think it's one of the great assets of having this whole event happening virtually is that we can travel so easily. I mean, right now we're talking to each other over the span of 3 different time zones, at least 3. There might be even more than that I know. And for everyone here, if you have questions that come to your mind while watching the video, keep them in mind and you can write them in the chat in the Zoom meeting, and then we will relay them to our guests. As Susan was explaining, we will have a live discussion with them right after the video. Si vous avez des questions qui vous viennent en tête pour nos invités, on vous prie de les écrire dans le chat. Et comme ça, on va pouvoir les poser directement à nos 2 invités qui sont à Nantes en ce moment. Alors, I think we're ready for the video. Ariane, let's travel to France, to the Chateau de Goulaine. Est-ce qu'on a le son, Ariane?
Hello, the Association France-États-Unis Committee North Atlantic is happy to welcome you on the occasion of this French Fest. We warmly thank the French-American Chamber of Commerce Pacific Northwest Chapter and the Seattle-Nantes Association for inviting us to this event. Our non-based association has been organizing activities and events for French and American persons in the Nantes region for more than 40 years, such as conversation sessions, film screenings, exhibition, conferences on commemoration of American holidays. We are happy to welcome you to the Chateau de Goulaine to make you discover this beautiful place of history and present to you on this occasion the castle, its history, as well as the territory in which it is located. During our renderings, we will have the pleasure of introducing you to a Muscadet producer whose vineyard is located a few kilometers from the castle, as well as a restaurant owner whose restaurant is located in the city center of Nantes. You will discover on this occasion that gastronomy and wine are very present in the Nantes region. Good discovery! Thank you, Christophe, for receiving us at Chateau de Goulaine. Can you speak about you and your castle, please?
Yes, well, it's a great pleasure to be here at the Chateau de Goulaine. So I'm in charge of this property, which is a family property owned by the family for about 1,000 years. And so what we do here is keeping this place in a nice shape, which is a lot of work with the garden, and also open to the public, and we have many visitors every year, so I hope maybe you will be there with us. And it's also a wine property. It's a place very important for food and what we call gastronomy. It's supposedly the place where the beurre blanc, the famous beurre blanc, was invented by mistake. So we love food and wine and nice old buildings.
Okay, you are speaking about beurre blanc. Christophe, I propose you to visit Elisa, who is the owner of a restaurant in Nantes, and to discover her dishes and a place.
Great.
you for welcoming us to your restaurant.
Thank you, you're welcome.
Can you tell us about you and your restaurant?
So I opened my restaurant at 24 years old. Now it's 6 years I opened, and after that I lived in Nottingham, in England, for 2 years, and after I go to Australia, in Melbourne, in restaurant Italian.
Elisa, what are the typical dishes of the region?
So in Nantes we have a famous sauce is beurre blanc. So it's with scallion, with vinegar and butter. And this sauce it's for the fish, because we have the sea just here in to Nantes. And so we have a lot of fish, and maybe you know crepe or galette is famous Britain dishes in Nantes.
And what kind of meal or dishes you propose to your client in your restaurant?
Me, I've got, I work with the season. I work with the season, so I don't have typical dishes, but it's French, and I mix with Mediterranean, Italian, and Thai. So we can have tataki salmon crispy, or you can have veal with mashed potatoes. So we have typical French food, and we have mixed food.
I understood you have foreign influences in your dishes, in your menu.
Yeah, I've got foie gras is typical, and I change my recipe every 2 months. I change my recipe of my foie gras, and we have pastry, French pastry, tartatin is famous, or you have riolet, so it's a rice cooked in the milk, with milk, and so we have French dishes, but sometimes we can, I love, because I travel a lot, so I love take some other country dishes, and I make a mix with a French fusion.
Do you have American clients sometimes in Nantes, in your restaurant?
Yeah, because I've got hostel here, and a lot of Americans come to Nantes, Paris, go to Lyon, Bordeaux, and so when he come to the hostel, the Radisson Blu, they come here because I make French food, and I can take what I said just before. I take some other dishes, and I put my French
French touch.
My French touch, exactly. So you come here and look the restaurant. It's typical with.
Do they appreciate the place?
Yes. Look the wall, and the floor is very typical, and
floor. Yes.
Yeah, it's all restaurants. So yeah.
I noticed there were coins on the walls.
It's typical.
Can you explain us why?
Yeah, it's typical to Nantes. You put some money, the money in the wall, and you make a wish.
A wish.
Yeah, and you make a wish. So it's typical in Nantes. So it's tradition.
And you can find these walls and these coins in many restaurants in Nantes.
Yeah, lot of it.
So Elisa, I'm American. I'm coming from Seattle, and I would like to visit Nantes. I'm just looking for a place to eat, and I heard about your restaurant. How can I find you?
My restaurant is just in the center of Nantes, so I'm just close to Place Aristide Briand, and we have the Radisson Blu Place Aristide Briand, or you have Tour de Bretagne, just close to my restaurant. So I'm center to Nantes. Find me restaurantledilemme.fr, or my Instagram, Le Dilemme, LEDILEMME, and my Facebook.
Okay. So thank you, Elisa.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, to discover your restaurant.
Thank you.
And congratulations.
Thank you. Bye bye. Au revoir.
Bye. Avant de retrouver Christophe au Château de Goulaine auprès des Marais, je vous propose une petite escapade à 1 heure de Nantes, à environ 50 miles, pour découvrir Guérande, où est entre autres fabriqué le célèbre sel de Guérande.
The salt marshes of Guérande are located in the south of Brittany, between the mouths of the Loire and Vilaine on the edge of the Atlantic Ocean. They constitute a very important wetland to the west of the Loire Atlantique. The fame of the surrounding sites is great. Guérande, city of art and history, famous for its medieval city, La Baule and its famous bay, recognized for being one of the most beautiful in Europe, Le Croisic and Piriac, small cities of character, La Tourballe, sardine fishing port, and Brière, one of the first French regional parks. Guérande is an hour's drive from Nantes. Guérande salt has its roots in history. It was harvested on the peninsula as early as the Iron Age. The first salt pans using the storage capacities of the lagoon date back to the 3rd century, shortly after the Roman conquest. The poet Fortunat then spoke of his Life of Saint Aubin, the White, of the rocks where the waves by breaking deposit the salt. But the real face of the salt marshes is the monks of the Abbey of Landévennec, who, by creating in 945 the Brewery of Bats, chiseled this face. By studying the tides, the wind, the sun, the monks drew the plan of the salt pans, whose contours have changed very little since then. This titanic work ensured the prosperity of Guérande for many centuries by opening the first trade routes of Europe, El Dorado of Brittany. The current technique of exploitation predates the 9th century. At least 5 salt pans from the Carolingian period are still exploited on the marsh. This tradition of the profession of salt worker and the perpetuation of the same gestures have really allowed the marshes of Guérande to live until today. The Le Guérandais brand was born following a collective movement of salt workers in the 1970s to protect their territory. Today, there are nearly 220 salt workers who share their harvests each year and guarantee a quality product. Over the past 30 years, the cooperative has grown, and Guérande sea salt has become a worldwide reference for regional salts. Le Guérandais has already won over the United States and Asia since 1990. At the end of the afternoon, under the effect of evaporation, the salt concentrates, causing its crystallization and deposit on the agile carnations. The salt worker then pushes the salt towards the edges of the basin using a law, a wooden tool with a very long handle. He then pulls it on the ladeur, a round clay platform where the salt will drain all night. The next day, the salt worker carries the 60 kilograms of salt per carnation using a wooden wheelbarrow to the large stock of salt in the salt works, the moulin. Thank you for listening to us, and we hope you have discovered or rediscovered the salt of Guérande. If you want more information about Guérande salt and its history, I invite you to visit the websites www.terredesel.com and www.leguerandais.fr.
Christophe, can you describe us the castle, the location of the castle?
Yes.
And its history?
Yes, briefly, we are in the west of France, we are on the Loire Valley, and we are on the border of the south part of Brittany. So this is a Loire Valley Renaissance castle. Originally we had a medieval castle, which was demolished during the 15th century, and then we had this lovely Renaissance chateau that was built and decorated in the 17th century. We are situated just nearby a marsh, which is a natural area protected, and we are about 10 miles from the city of Nantes. So the period of the construction goes from the 10th century to the 17th century. It's a huge history and always owned by the Goulaine family. And the wine is very important in the area because we are in the Muscadet area, and I think you want to bring us somewhere.
Yes. We propose you to visit a vineyard with a few kilometers from Chateau de Goulaine, which name is Chateau Guipierre.
Bonjour, bienvenue au château de la Guipierre. Donc, la Guipierre est située à Valette, à quelques kilomètres de Nantes. Notre domaine s'étend sur 28 hectares, donc tout d'un seul tenant, donc tout autour du domaine bâti. On a un bâti qui date de 1842, donc qui est assez ancien, comme la culture, comme la plantation des premières vignes. Puis donc ce bâti a été inspiré par Garenne Lemou, donc l'architecte c'est Lemou, donc qui a travaillé beaucoup sur la partie toscane en termes d'architecture, et donc on nous avait cette architecture qui est assez unique dans la région nantaise. Voilà. Le domaine, donc 28 hectares, on est sur du muscadet pour une grosse partie, 19 hectares, et ensuite on a des vins de cépage, du pinot noir, du pinot gris, du chardonnay, et puis aussi un peu de gewürztraminer pour la petite histoire, pour avoir un petit peu plus sucré, un peu plus aromatique. Ce qu'on propose maintenant, c'est de passer à l'intérieur pour faire la dégustation de nos meilleurs vins, de nos meilleurs muscadets. Ok, Stéphane, le maître de chai.
Le quotidien d'un maître de chai est très cyclique en fonction de l'année. Donc, notre point culminant d'activité, c'est pendant les vendanges, où là, on récolte le raisin et on le transforme en vin. Donc ça, c'est le plus gros point du travail. Ensuite, on a la période d'élevage où là, il faut bien suivre nos vins, bien les préparer pour la mise en bouteille. On a la mise en bouteille qui est plutôt au printemps. Et ensuite, on a la préparation des commandes qui là s'étalent sur toute l'année.
Présenter nos 3 cuvées de muscadet qu'on va présenter aujourd'hui.
Merci. Donc, les muscadets sont donc la partie dominante de notre production sur le domaine. Et là, on va vous présenter 3 cuvées qui sont un peu les références de notre domaine. Donc, en termes d'appellation, nous sommes sur des muscadets Sévramen-sur-Lie. Muscadets Sévramen issus de la région Sévramen. Et sur lit parce qu'ils ont été élevés sur leur lit pendant 12 à 14 mois. Et ensuite, la cuvée du Goulaine, qui, elle, est une cuvée de muscadet cru, qui, elle, a été élevée sur une parcelle bien référencée et qui a été élevée sur ses lits pendant plus de 18 mois.
Alors, nos amis américains et le muscadet, c'est une longue histoire. Notamment donc, sur notre cuvée Lagrange, on a gagné il y a quelques années un appel d'offres sur American Airlines. Donc voilà, les passagers d'American Airlines ont pu profiter donc, du muscadet. Nous sommes aussi distribués en Californie, mais aussi sur la côte est des États-Unis, donc qui est friand, nos amis américains sont friands du melon de Bourgogne, donc pour accompagner leurs plats, notamment les poissons, les crustacés, les coquillages. Donc voilà, ils sont fans de la fraîcheur du melon de Bourgogne.
On va continuer la visite par le chai, là où se fait le vin. Et donc avec Stéphane, on va vous faire visiter nos chais. Et la spécificité chez nous, c'est avoir des cuves enterrées, puisque effectivement, toutes les cuves, les tanks sont enterrés. Voilà. Donc ça, c'est le chai à cuve. On va... Donc ici, toutes les cuves sont enterrées. Donc, on a tout le stockage du vin qui se fait ici. Donc avec nos muscadets qui sont pliés par parcelle. Donc il va vous faire voir une cuve qui est vide.
La spécificité du vignoble du muscadet, c'est que la grande majorité du vin est stocké en volume souterrain comme ceci. Donc comme vous pouvez voir, c'est une trappe en inox. Ici, ce sont des parois en béton qui sont recouvertes de carreaux de verre. Ce qui fait qu'on a un contenant entièrement neutre au niveau alimentaire et qui protège le vin des altérations, que ce soit la lumière ou les contraintes de température. Donc celle-ci est vide, et vous pouvez voir au contraire que quand celles-ci sont pleines, toujours là, comme ça, à l'abri de l'air et de la lumière. Ceci nous permettant de faire le prélèvement pour les dégustations. Le volume de stockage est variable en fonction des cuves. Grosso modo, donc celle-ci par exemple, là, elle est de 5000 litres, celle-ci est de 6600 litres, et en tout, le volume de stockage du chai entier est équivalent à 2 années de récolte, ce qui nous permet d'avoir des rotations et des élevages sur ligne, d'avoir assez de volume pour faire nos élevages sur ligne.
Après, il doit y avoir peut-être dans les contacts.
C'était l'ancien jardin du château.
Oui,
hein. Historiquement. Ah oui, voilà. Donc quand Philippe est arrivé, on l'a planté. On l'a planté en ville. La vigne a été plantée en 2016. Ouais. Ah, donc actuellement, la vigne, elle est dans son repos végétatif d'hiver. Là, nous sommes au mois de mars, les températures commencent à remonter. Bientôt, on pourra voir les bourgeons qui vont grossir et puis qui vont démarrer.
Depuis quelques années, on a été confronté à des épisodes de gel qui étaient assez désastreux dans le domaine, puisque après le bourgeon, on est en avril, on a eu quelques épisodes de gel ces dernières années qui nous ont privés d'une partie de la récolte, donc c'était un peu difficile. Donc maintenant on essaie de travailler différemment en s'équipant avec des luttes anti-gel, et donc là on a investi cette année sur une tour anti-gel pour pouvoir ventiler, faire du vent autour des parcelles pour chasser le gel. Donc, et préserver notre récolte. C'est quand même depuis quelques années, le muscadet, les surfaces de muscadet se sont réduites. Il y avait une très grosse production pour s'orienter plus vers des crus qualitatifs, comme le cru Goulaine qu'on vous a présenté tout à l'heure, qui sont des crus assez emblématiques de nos appellations.
So if you want to test our wines and meet us, you can join us in Valette, but you can also find our website on chateauguipierre.com, and you can also have a look on Instagram, Chateau Guipierre. Thank you.
What's happening in the Chateau de Goulaine?
Well, all year long we have lots of different activities. It can be a festival, a music festival, it can be jazz, classic music, pop, rock, of course American music, exhibition, venues like a wedding, any kind of things. There is 365 days in a year, and we try to fill up every year, and hopefully of course you can do a wine tasting here from a muscadet Marquis de Goulaine. So anytime hopefully you will be visiting us, and we'll be very pleased to welcome you here. If you want to see what we are doing, of course we have got a Facebook page called Chateau de Goulaine. Hope you like it, and hope to see you very soon in France, here in Chateau de Goulaine in the Nantes area.
I see some people taking notes. Je vois qu'il y a des gens qui prennent des notes et c'est très bien. J'ai mis également quelques liens pour le Château de Goulaine, le Château Guipierre notamment. Thank you so much for organizing that great visit and to transport us in France in the Goulaine area today. Et là, c'est avec grand plaisir que nous accueillons deux invités qui sont directement dans le château, comme on peut le voir. On a Christophe de Goulaine, donc de la famille propriétaire du Château de Goulaine. Bonjour Christophe.
Bonjour. Bonjour.
Et Stéphane Bonetti, président du comité Nantes-Atlantique de l'association France-États-Unis. Bonjour.
Bonjour, bonjour à tous.
Thank you so much for being with us. So we have a few minutes. If people in the audience have questions for both Christophe and Stéphane, please feel free to write them in the chat and I will convey the question to our guest. I do have some questions of my own, though. I'm curious to know whether the chateau is now open to tourists after it's been closed, I imagine, during the pandemic. Est-ce que le château est à nouveau ouvert au grand public?
Yes, it's actually opened again. We have been very quiet during those 2 years, but well, hopefully now everything is going good again, and so yes, it's okay for the moment.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to visit. Je vois d'ailleurs derrière vous un manteau de cheminée qui est assez exceptionnel. J'aimerais savoir, est-ce qu'il y a une pièce ou une section du château qui est particulière pour vous, qui a une connotation peut-être encore plus spéciale? What would be the most special room or section of the castle for you?
Well, actually, there is two, not only one. There is two drawing rooms. One is the blue drawing room and the other one is the red drawing room. And it's going back to the coat of arms, which are just there. You have got the leopard of England and the fleur de lis of France. So that's the coat of arms of the Goulaine family and the chateau. And we have those two drawing rooms. So I really look forward to welcome you at the chateau so I can myself show you those two very special rooms.
I bet. And so it reminds me of some part of Canada with the English symbols and the French symbols. On a aussi ces symboles anglais et français qui se côtoient. Someone is asking, this is a family chateau. Since when has it been in the family? I think quite a few years, right?
Yes, a few years. So it's about 1,000 years. Maybe more.
Maybe more.
But definitely 1,000 years.
Incroyable. Et vous avez aussi des ancêtres qui ont des liens très forts avec l'Amérique du Nord. Pour vous, qu'est-ce que représente cette relation entre la France et l'Amérique du Nord en ce moment?
Well, it's essential. I mean, our history has been all the time together. On the side of Florida, Jacksonville, one of my ancestors went there in 1562 and established the first colony there with a fort called Fort Caroline. So we were 10 years ago exactly in Jacksonville for celebrating the 450th anniversary. And another one in Montreal, we have a cousin which visits us sometimes, and the history with the family is about from 250 years. So through the media, the social media now, we are back in contact. So it's absolutely fantastic. I think we are all a same family, a huge family.
And someone was asking what's the story of the founder of the family. So as you said, I mean, among your family members, there was this one very important one during the history who established one of the first fort here in North America in Jacksonville, and what is now Jacksonville. Someone's asking, has there been many changes to the building, or has it been fairly well preserved? I think in the video, it mentioned something about the medieval castle that had been replaced by what we have now.
Yes, originally we are on the border of Brittany with the Kingdom of France. So during the 15th century, there was no more border. Brittany became part of France. So That's at that time that they decided, my family decided to do the construction of a Renaissance castle. So yes, you have about 3 periods. The cellar is from really the medieval time. Then you have the Renaissance castle, and you have got different parts which were put together during the 17th century.
Wow. C'est tout un projet de rénovation au fil des siècles. J'aurais une question maintenant pour Stéphane Bonetti. You are the president of the Nantes Atlantic chapter of the Association France-États-Unis. I'm sure you as well have quite a strong connection with North America. Can you tell us a little bit more about the work of your association?
Yes, we are located in Nantes, and we are happy to meet Americans who are living in the Nantes region. And there are lots of Americans in Nantes. And we celebrate every fest, of course, 4th of July or Thanksgiving with French, American and French students. And we have an exhibition of different things, different road trips or photographer who works with us. And we are very happy to participate to this kind of evening for us and morning for you, to promote the Chateau de Goulaine and to promote France and to make you discover every link that we discovered. We discovered lots of links between France, Brittany, and the United States.
And the whole area is known, well, now we've learned about Muscadet, about the Sel de Guérande, about modern cuisine at a restaurant such as Le Dilemme that builds on French traditions, but also international inspirations. But mostly the Loire area is really known for its famed chateau. But beyond that, if we want to come, let's say this summer and visit the Chateau de Goulaine, what else should we be looking for our visit?
There are lots of things to discover. Sometimes, for example, Americans just visit Chateau de Loire, but in the region of Chambord, Tours, and some of them have the good idea to visit Brittany or Nantes, and there are lots of things to discover in Nantes. There are many castles, and Chateau de Goulaine is one of the most preserved castles in the Nantes area. But in Nantes, you can discover lots of museums. You can discover also what is called the Machine de Lille, maybe the big elephant. I don't know if you have noticed this elephant. I propose you to have a look on the website on Nantes. And there are many activities, and the coast is not quite far because Guérande is 1 hour of Nantes by car. And you have all the coast with seafood, fish. It's very different. You have the green part with Goulaine and its marsh, because there is a marsh also in Goulaine just behind the castle, and you have the sea. So and Brittany is not very far, Normandy is not very far, and Paris is not very far too.
Yeah,
c'est près de tout finalement.
Yes, they are very central.
And I would also like to say that we are talking a lot about food and culture, but you also sport. This fantastic river Loire is promoted for cycling by the Loire à vélo. So of course you will eat a lot, you will visit a lot of chateaux, but you can cycle. So all the food is okay.
And the wine too.
It's a perfect balance. Quickly, we have one question. Someone's asking if we can rent a room at the chateau.
Well, not for the moment, unfortunately. But there's nice hotels just around, but not anymore now at the moment at the chateau.
And before we move on to a cooking demonstration with Chef Didier, I have a specific question about the beurre blanc. So we heard in the video you saying how the beurre blanc was invented, or so goes the legend, perhaps by mistake. Can you tell us a little more about it?
Yeah, so in the tradition, the cook which invented the beurre blanc is called Clémence. And she was a cook at the Chateau de Goulaine, and she was preparing this special sauce. She did a mistake, and she had no time to do a new sauce, and she tried the sauce and said, well, I think it should be okay. So she said that. And then after she had her own restaurant with the success, which is just incredible because it's very international. All over the world, the beurre blanc is well known. Well, we believe that. I don't know if it's... We were sure that the beurre blanc is well known all of us.
Throughout the world. But les choses sont bien faites parce que si on a quelques questions sur le beurre blanc, il y a le chef Didier Poirier qui va tout nous expliquer dans quelques minutes et nous montrer comment faire cette fameuse sauce. Christophe de Goulaine, Stéphane Bonetti, un grand merci de nous avoir ouvert les portes du château et aussi de tout ce que votre région a à offrir. Thank you very much to you both for your time and for this video who helped us explore and getting to know a little bit more the area of Nantes. Et j'espère que vous restez avec nous. Mais je sais qu'il est tard chez vous, donc à votre convenance.
Très bien. À bientôt.
À bientôt.
À bientôt. And to follow on the beurre blanc, now we have a live cooking demo with Chef Didier Poirier. Alors, je crois que Didier est dans sa cuisine en ce moment. Bonjour Didier, rebonjour.
Bonjour, rebonjour encore. J'espère que vous me voyez tous ici dans ma cuisine, ma maison, de Nantes à Seattle. On est là, prêt pour le beurre blanc. Donc, et avec aussi le fleur de sel, la petite fleur de sel que vous avez vue de Guérande qui est arrivée ici chez moi, les petites échalotes, le beurre de Bretagne. Le beurre de Bretagne, celui-là est vraiment sur le côté Brest. Donc à l'ouest complètement de la Bretagne. Donc, on a tous les produits nantais, sans exception, le petit muscadet est là. Donc, Frédéric, on va faire, pour commencer la recette, on va faire un petit à ta santé.
I brought my own.
Et voilà, you got your own. N'oublie pas ton père et tranquille à la santé. Et voilà, pour commencer, un petit...
Je vais l'ouvrir.
Bien frais, un petit muscadet. Donc, muscadet avec les huîtres dans la donc aujourd'hui, on va faire notre beurre nantais, beurre blanc, beurre nantais. Moi, je suis tout près de Nantes. Je suis du Mans. Le Mans, notre ville des 24 heures du Mans. Et donc voilà, je ne suis pas très loin du Château de Goulaine. Par contre, on n'a pas de saumon de Bretagne. Alors bon, saumon, moi j'ai pris un steelhead, donc un saumon de chez nous, bien de chez nous, de Seattle.
I was about to say you have great seafood in Seattle, so I don't think that I was not too worried about that part.
Non. Le steelhead, il vient de Columbia River, qui est frais. Donc là, je vais le couper, l'enlever un petit peu la graisse. On garde, bien sûr, moi j'aime bien cuire sur la peau et je garde donc la peau du steelhead. Là. Je vais faire une portion. Donc là, je vais mettre ma poêle à chauffer qui est avec moitié beurre et moitié huile d'olive. Donc,
okay, so we mix butter and olive oil in our pan. That's the first step.
Yeah, we put on a cast iron. Voilà. Here. Our cast iron. So olive oil, half olive oil, like a tablespoon and a tablespoon of butter. Put on a fire. We're going to season our salmon with a fresh black pepper. And a little bit of the fleur de sel. Voilà. When it's hot, it's really hot. The cast iron is very, very hot. We're gonna cook first on the skin side. Very important. And to finish on the meat side first, I'm so sorry, and finish on the skin side. So
okay. On commence du côté de la chair.
Voilà, sur la chair. Le fire à plein. Full fire. Very important to give a nice color of the meat, so that's why the side will be served. And I like to serve actually my beurre blanc that we're going to make in a few minutes with a nice salmon. Salmon, it's a beurre blanc. I think it's a delicacy. It's been used, of course, with vegetable, like the chef explained. But for me, a lot of fish, like the pack, like the brochet, the pack, it's one of the best. But salmon that we have plenty here in season, of course, it's a perfect. So.
Je le sens là, jusqu'à Montréal, Didier.
Et voilà, you can hear all the, the bubbling.
The sizzling.
Voilà. And the reason we do butter and oil, and the butter will bring this nice velvety colors to your salmon. I think it's really, really important to mix this, and the oil will not burn and bring the cancerogen. So, et voilà.
Et la recette de beurre blanc qu'on va faire en ce moment, elle nous vient où on peut la retrouver dans un livre, hein, Didier?
Voilà, c'est ça. Je vais vous faire voir. Après le saumon, je le mets au four et on va le mettre pour 4 ou 5 minutes.
4 or 5 minutes in the oven.
4 or 5 minutes, so to crispy the skin. So that's what we're going to do. Meantime, now we're going to make the beurre blanc. I got my little pan here. We're gonna use, I'm sure Ariane will give you, and this will be online, the recipe from the book that the Sister-Nantes Seattle created, the international table. And you can, if you find that book, it's a fabulous book, actually, great, fabulous recipe. On page 157, you will find the beurre blanc recipe.
Perfect. I think there's a whole chapter with 6 recipes dedicated to Nantes in total in that book.
It's all about Nantes, so and I think it's fabulous. So to go with the recipe, actually I'm going to double the recipe, but I got in my big pot. So we got 4 tablespoons of shallot that I just minced. And use our muscadet. Muscadet, it is the 2 tablespoons or 4 tablespoons.
Okay, and a sip, I think.
Et voilà, one always 2 tablespoons to my to the wine, comes to the chef always.
C'est le contrôle de la qualité.
Chef is always sober when he's cooking, so very, very important to be there, So we're gonna leave this cooking that for a few minutes. The reason, and I will show you the recipe, said vinegar. I do not add personally my recipe for myself, that I've been a chef for many, many years. I've been here in this country 36 years. And I'm a restaurateur for 20 years, and the rest mostly in Los Angeles. Never cooked in Seattle actually, but at least been here. And my recipe of shallot reductions with the muscadet. Never use vinegar because it brings, for me, too much acidity. I think the vinegar, even if you can remove the alcohol, it's acidic enough to bring this flavor of that sauce, but not to be too acidic. So that's why, for me, it's very important not to be too acidic. So to confuse the delicacy of the salmon that we have. So to have the both flavor of the great sauce, but also a flavor of the salmon. So when
we just replace the vinegar by more muscadet.
Yeah.
Okay.
But at that, you got to reduce more and more if you add more muscadet. So, so just keep, actually, no, I just keep actually shallots and keep a 4 tablespoons of the muscadet.
D'accord.
More liquid, more time for reducing. So you can see here, we got a reduction. We reduce almost all the way to the end. And when it's fully reduced, we're gonna be adding some cream that I have here. Not a French cream, actually a local cream that we have here. And the reason that we add the cream actually is to hold the sauce. So when the cream is gonna reduce with the muscadet and the shallot, it's gonna hold together. And after that, we can do a fabulous emulsion of butter, of Brittany butter that I will show you in a few minutes. And you can do that, but at the same time you make that sauce, your salmon will almost be ready on time. So, and for people, and I said before, and I always forgot this, when you do a shallot, people who do not know a shallot, it's a little onions, more flavorful, actually more little purple colors. For people who never use a shallot, and you can see the colors of the shallots here. Very, very beautiful flavor. Of course, when you make an onion soup, you don't make with shallot, but you have to make a regular onion. But for a lot of cooking that we do, shallot has been used a lot in our kitchen.
Et on dit que le beurre blanc est dérivé légèrement donc d'une recette de sauce béarnaise. Quelle est la différence entre les deux? What's the difference between the Bearnaise sauce and the beurre blanc?
So the Bearnaise, the base of the Bearnaise is a shallot reductions with vinegar, wine, and estragon. You raise that, and you incorporate to an emulsion or yolks, water. You do like an emulsion, so whip in a bain-marie, and you incorporate your reduction, fully dry reductions of the shallot, tarragons, wine, a little bit of vinegar, and estragon. And so that's where you got a beautiful Bearnaise. And if you remove the reductions, you create an Hollandaise. Hollandaise is just an emulsion of yolks, water, salt, pepper, and lemon.
Mais dans le beurre blanc, donc, il n'y a pas d'estragon dans le beurre blanc.
Yeah, it's just the flavor of the shallot and the muscadet. I think muscadet is very important. People will say, "Why can I use a substitute to an easy white wine?" Yes, of course, but of course, with a muscadet, it's not the same. So, because the muscadet brings this little acidity in it, so that's why it's very important on some of the wines. So never use a wine that is a sweet wine, a sweet white wine.
So we need some acidity. Someone was asking in the chat, what was the mistake that cook at the Chateau de Goulaine made and that made her discover or create the beurre blanc? Moi, j'avais une partie de la réponse, Didier. Je ne sais pas si tu l'as toi aussi.
Non, j'ai pas eu la réponse.
So I was told, according to the legend, that it was the egg yolks that were missing, and apparently they ran out of eggs, so they didn't put any egg yolks. So that's how it became. We went from Bearnaise to the beurre blanc initially.
So that was it. So yeah, one Hollandaise to beurre blanc. So
right.
You can see, So you can see my
La belle réduction.
It's almost finished here. We try to have most of the wine gone, so I can keep on going and put a little bit of our cream. And our cream, we got 3 tablespoons or 6 tablespoons of cream here.
Yeah, because you're doubling the recipe. And someone's asking for the salmon that's finishing to cook in the oven. At what temperature should we set the oven?
At 375.
375.
At 375, yeah. So you can see our salmon. It should be ready. Nice. I always about a touching, feeling a little bit soft. When you see the white, I won't say the blood of the salmon, but the albumin of the salmon comes up, that means it's a little bit overcooked. So you just make sure you're a little bit undercooked and you keep in the pan like that. And very important is to have our salmon here. The reason I put in the on the towels a little bit here to remove the fat, the grease. Put it in the middle of our plates. Put it here on our table. And now, when my cream in about a minute will be finished reducing, I can do an emulsion of the Brittany butter, Le Gall. Le Gall is a great butter. It's a major, it's the same thing like the Goulaine Chateau. It's a family business actually, and it will start to be imported in the US very shortly.
Oh, that's good news.
It's going to be a new beurre de Bretagne that we call. They have the salty one, a demi-sel, and coming in America very, very soon. So very big family in Brittany-Brest area. So just keep going after Nantes. Okay, my reduction is almost there. Not a full reduction, but at least about half of it. On my electric plate, I have a number 5, and I will reduce about number 2 to incorporate the butter.
The butter, right? Because obviously a beurre blanc cannot be done without butter.
Of course, any cooking, any French cooking, we need the butter and we need the cream. I think it's, you know, you have to watch your diet, of course. So everybody watch the diet, but you know, good French cooking is all about butter.
Well, so, yeah, it's also, you don't need a huge quantity to be filled with the taste, and that's also part of the success of French cuisine.
Exactly, and you can see, you know, my ladle, it's 1 ounce. So what you will see when 1 ounce will do when I'm finished. Okay. So you got your butter. I got my butter here, my Brittany butter.
Should it be room temperature?
Yes, thank you. Okay. You just got my word.
So
we incorporate nicely, little by little. I like that. I think in your younger years, Frederick, you were a chef. I really believe that. Based on last year, the way we cook, and this year, you got to be a chef. Your parents must make you do, your mom, a great chef, you know?
I'm very good at tasting the recipes.
Good. We always need one person. Of course, the chef is always there to taste, but we always need an assistant, you know?
Perfect. Ça me fait plaisir.
So you see, I incorporate my butter. Nice and solid. And you can keep actually that sauce for, I will say, a good hours in a bain-marie, and it will never break. So that's what's a great thing in a bain-marie. So you can put in containers and keep it in a bain-marie, and the sauce will never break. Et voila. So I reduce my heat here. When all the butter is ready, that's the time that I will need you, Frederick, the testing. Oui. So is, you know, it's part of your job. So, you know, of course, far away, but you know, you can come here in my kitchen, and you will see that little fingers will be around here, Frederick.
Right. I want to dip in there. Yes.
Voilà.
C'est de la magie télévisuelle.
La magie. Un petit peu de, j'arrête pour pas casser le beurre blanc. Un peu de, très très bon.
I think we're quite a few people being hungry now.
Exactly, always. Un petit peu de sel de Guérande. Un peu de fleur de sel. Fleur de sel, et maintenant tout le monde connaît, everyone know the fleur de sel from Guérande, of course. Et voilà.
Et si on n'est pas un fan du saumon, par exemple, ou des fruits de mer ou des poissons, est-ce qu'on peut servir cette sauce-là sur autre chose, légumes, viande blanche?
Très, très bien, très, très bonne. Il y a des légumes qui sont steam, donc à vapeur, ou des légumes grillés, qui est très, très, très bien. Surtout le broccoli. Broccoli goes very, very well because you can see the butter coming down, but also the shallots stay on the top. So I think it's a really... really good. If you're vegetarian, you can use that sauce. So you can see now, I will use my 1 ounce beurre blanc. If you like a lot of beurre blanc, you can use another one. You know, we can put on the top, put around. Of course, so use some of the great vegetables. Use from my garden some little rosemary here. Et voilà, bon appétit, our beurre blanc, à forme de pays de Nantes, avec our Bretagne, avec un petit verre de muscadet, sans oublier, and I can see, I will get a little fork, you can see the inside of our salmon. I will taste for you, Frederick. And also, I know you're a big fan of salmon, but you know, this is how the salmon should be tasting.
Merci pour le dévouement, Didier.
What a perfect opportunity, everyone. I know it's early. It's just for everyone to make in 15 minutes at home, you know. And of course, sans oublier un petit vin blanc, un petit vin de muscat, avec votre petit livre si vous avez oublié de faire la recette.
Oui. The International Table Recipes from the Seattle Sister Cities. So there's a whole chapter dedicated to Nantes with 6 recipes, and all proceeds go to the Seattle Sister City Association and its affiliated organizations. So c'est l'occasion de bien manger et de faire un bon coup en même temps.
Exactement. And you can find these books everywhere in Seattle, in Oregon, and I'm sure all over the US. So if you're not in our Pacific Northwest, you can find everywhere. So, and you can see my apron too. I was a Brittany apron, Le Monde des Crêpes. I'm from Brittany. They talk about crepes, you know, French crepes. Les crêpes bretonnes, elles sont là. J'ai le tablier, on est prêt de retourner en Bretagne. Mais on est toujours à Seattle. Bon appétit.
Bon appétit, Chef Didier Poirier. Merci beaucoup pour la recette. And indeed, if you are hungry, you have a few minutes for a snack and a refreshment. And at 11:30, we have another visit. We continue on our path to gastronomy, with this time with a visit of the Lantern Brewery in Seattle. So come back. We have a new link. So Ariane will post right now the link in the chat. You have it otherwise in your invitation email as well. So connect on the new link at 11:30. And we will have a live visit of Lantern Brewing with also a very special project that's been actually brewing at the brewery that we will be talking about. Alors, merci beaucoup. Et le lien est donc disponible maintenant dans le chat. On se retrouve dans 8 minutes. We have 8 minutes and we'll see you then. Merci et merci à nos invités de France encore, Christophe de Goulaine et Stéphane Bonetti. Merci beaucoup d'avoir été des nôtres.
Merci.